What's up, everybody? Just waiting for, there we go, the Instagram live to get going. This will be posted to Instagram and YouTube. So let's wait for everybody to come on. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? There we go. We got some folks coming on. Grand Rising, how's everybody doing? How's the astrology been treating ya? Let's wait for everybody to come on. Grand Rising, hi. Let's see. Let's go look at the chart. How's everybody's new moon been? We got the moon in Virgo today with the south node in Mars. Oh lordy, this astrology will not let down. What's up? Welcome. There's my friend. Peep the Labubu's. You see him? That's it. I was like, I need to show him off, you know? Need to give him some presents, some space. Cleaning out the house. Yeah, I've been cleaning up the house too. I've been getting everything ready. My parents are gonna be here for a week. Well, not like a full week, but a good like 5 days starting tomorrow. So I've been busy getting everything ready, getting everything clean, organized for them to be here. Lay the red carpet down for them. Peace and blessings and love. Oh, I love that. So yeah, so we've been in this new moon and Leo cycle. We have the sun opposite Pluto, separating from this opposition with Pluto. We have this new moon opposite Pluto. How many people have been feeling this kind of like deep, kind of psychological, this deep metamorphosis, this kind of like deep transformation and change? Maybe you're feeling torn between two different timelines, the past, and the future, or the present and the future. You're feeling like you know where you want to go, you know who you want to become, but the road there seems a little messy, a little sticky, seems a little difficult. Well, I just want to remind you guys that we have this new moon in Leo. Welcome everybody coming in. Thank you for being here. Um, I just want to remind you guys, for this week ahead astrology, that last week we had this new moon in Leo that was directly opposing Pluto and Aquarius. So this new moon cycle is about like this kind of excavation of our inner world, this kind of like deep psychological, deep metamorphosis, this deep identity, this like transformation that we're all going through collectively together. It's really weird. We're moving towards our future self, but we're also having to kind of like grieve, and we're having to kind of like purge, or we're having to kind of like let go. And we're being asked, what's going to be coming with you into this future timeline, this future narrative, right? One of the things I was thinking about with this new moon in Leo that we had that was opposing Pluto, and we'll talk about a few other aspects that the new moon made. Um, One of the things that I was thinking about is kind of like how this is the first year we're experiencing these Sun Pluto aspects. Um, Pluto just went into Aquarius permanently starting this year, right? And um, as of the beginning of this year. And this is the first year that the Sun and Pluto are making these like squares and oppositions, with Pluto being in Aquarius. So these kind of like lunar events, whenever we have like a new moon or a full moon that's aspecting Pluto and Aquarius, it's kind of like giving us a little bit of an introduction, and it's kind of like breaking us down and getting us even more ready, or even propelling us and pushing us towards what Pluto and Aquarius is going to be about for the next 20 years. And what's interesting about Pluto and the sun, right? Like whenever the sun is making an aspect of Pluto, is that these are planets that have a lot to do with leadership and authority, and they have a lot to do with power, and they have a lot to do with like celebrities and the rich. And what's so interesting about people, we always think of, like, for those of us that are, that study astrology, we're in it, and we live in the world. We always think about the sun, right, as being the planet of celebrities and being the planet of leadership and being the planet of, you know, those that have influence over others. So CEOs, bosses, leadership, did I already say leadership? Maybe I already said that. Um, what's the other word that I'm thinking of? Even like politicians and even like high profile religious leaders or spiritual leaders, right? These are all Leo things. These are all Leo people. But when you actually start looking at the charts of a lot of like celebrities and a lot of like CEOs and those that are in the limelight or those that are in the public eye, what you'll also see is the influence of Pluto. Because Pluto, right, is a planet that likes to make things that are very small or things that we would think that are insignificant or things that we'd be like, oh, we don't have to pay no mind to that, large. So Pluto is about mass appeal, mass influence, mass magnetism. And this is one of the things that you'll see in the charts of those that drive like celebrities, religious leaders, spiritual leaders, presidents, CEOs, those that drive other people insane or crazy or like mad or like bring out this obsessive quality, you know? So we all remember, or we all should know Michael Jackson or know of Michael Jackson. But you guys remember back in like the 80s and stuff when people would go to Michael Jackson concerts and people are going apeshit crazy. Like they are passing out, they're fainting left and right. They're just like obsessed. And Michael Jackson has the sun conjunct Pluto. And same thing with Justin Bieber. Bieber fever, when people would, for those of us that remember the good old days, when Justin Bieber was younger, and people are just like going ape-ish crazy over Justin Bieber. Well, he has Pluto conjunct the ascendant. So another planet that we need to start thinking about, when it comes to intense magnetism and mass appeal and, a planet that empowers people to be able to have mass influence, similar to the sun, but different. Because the sun kind of commands authority, but the sun doesn't bring out people's like obsessive compulsive qualities. The sun doesn't drive people insane the way Pluto does. It's a different kind of influence. I think Pluto, when it comes to leadership as well, has a lot to do with it's more subversive or it's more psychological or it's more like hypnotic. It's more elusive, Pluto's power. I think Pluto has lots of. So when we're thinking about the Pluto, like literally, we're talking about the word, the plutocracy, right? We're thinking about people that are influencing things from behind the scenes, or if people that are influencing outcomes or influencing society, or even leaders that influence things, right? With money, with power, through, in secrecy, with like secret groups, and they're making moves from behind the scenes where the sun does everything very overtly, is very public, is everything's very seen, everything's very obvious, right? With the sun, right? But what's interesting is the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this new moon in Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius, and also aspecting, I want to remind you guys that new moon in Leo that we had was also aspecting Saturn. It was in a direct trine with Saturn retrograde in Aries, also making a sextile to Uranus and who just went into Gemini, and also, trining Neptune, who is retrograde in Aries as well, because Saturn and Neptune are sitting together. Right, but there's something about Pluto aspecting Saturn and the Sun for this new moon that's really having us question our relationship with power and our relationship with authority. And kind of like our relationship with like the rules and the expectations and kind of like the structures of like societal structures and the things that have kind of propped us up or held us up, even though those structures are no longer like functioning or no longer working. And so I want you guys to really, whenever we have these, whenever the sun goes into a fixed sign now, that the sun is in, right now the sun's in Leo, but the sun was in Taurus, and then now we're gonna have the sun. The next sign that we're gonna next fixed sign the sun's gonna be in is gonna be Scorpio season, right? And then Aquarius season. But whenever the sun is transiting these fixed seasons now, and especially when we have a lunar event like a new moon or a full moon that's aspects in Pluto and Aquarius, I want you guys to pay attention to kind of what's happening with society's relationship with power and with like authority figures and like leadership, right? And there's this kind of like reclamation of power that I think we are going to be feeling and we're going to be going through, especially during the first 5 years of Pluto and Aquarius. I really think we're going to start to see a dissolution of power and a reclaiming of like personal autonomy in some type of way, or even power being redistributed to the people in some type of way, right? But what's interesting is this new moon in Leo is kind of inviting us to reclaim power in our own life. And that's what like this week and I think next week is going to be about as we are navigating this new moon in Leo cycle. It's like, what does power mean to you? What does authority mean to you? And also because, the sign of Leo is about our identity. It's about what we identify with. And then it's also what's interesting about Leo though, right? Leo is what we identify with, but the sign of Aquarius where Pluto is at is also kind of the things that we identify with or the groups that we subscribe to that we may feel ashamed about or that we have some kind of karmic baggage with. Or when we claim that identity, it comes with some kind of karmic blowback in some type of way. For instance, when we're talking about these groups of people that are Aquarian in nature, we're talking about like what it means to be an African American, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a person of color, what it means to be an LGBT person. Like you're ascribing to a group, right, of people that get ostracized or left out, or that they get tread upon, or they get, taken advantage of by society in some type of way. And many of us, it's like that's the really interesting thing about identity that I think many people we don't go deep enough into understanding is like how your own personal identity, which is Leo, right? Oh, hold on. I don't know why. Let's just do that. Can you guys still hear me? Are we good? You guys like my tower card shirt that I have on today? This has been my life. Mars has been messing with me. Can you guys hear me still? Are we good? Okay, cool. Give me a yes. Okay. All right, cool. So, the interesting thing about the sign of Leo, right, is Leo's about our own personal identity, but also the opposing sign Aquarius, right, is about how when we associate with certain identity groups, we kind of get ostracized or left out or attacked in some type of way, right? So I think this new moon in Leo is kind of an invitation to go deeper and to develop that confidence and to embrace these identities that come with a certain amount of baggage that we're afraid of, that we lack the confidence to share or be open with others about, right? And I think about a lot of this when it comes to even those, you see, yeah, I got another right here. And I think this has a lot to do with those that are afraid of kind of, so I want you to think about it like this, right? In what areas of your life do you kind of silence yourself, or do you hide yourself or inhibit yourself? Or where are you afraid to be yourself because you don't want to be ostracized, you don't want to be judged, right? You don't want to deal with being shamed or feeling shame, right? Or you deal with shame. And so you like hold back this piece of yourself. You deny a certain part of yourself. You're afraid of letting people know about this certain thing that you love, right? Like if it's something you're passionate about. Maybe it's some work that you do. I think it's so interesting how there's a lot of astrologers. This is something that I was like watching a few weeks ago, but there's like astrologers were talking about this kind of like this group of astrologers was talking about how like they're not very open with divulging the fact that they do astrology or they do tarot or they're interested or curious about these things or that's their profession because they don't want to be ostracized, they don't want to be judged, they don't want to look bad, right? So it's really interesting because it's like we do this all the time. We're always kind of compartmentalizing ourselves. or we're kind of like separating ourselves from certain things that we are ashamed about or that we are afraid of being judged by, right? But I feel like this new moon in Leo is inviting us to be like, no, this cycle, right? This week, next week, it's inviting us to really be proud of the parts of ourselves that society deems unworthy, unvaluable, that society says, that's not right, and it cannot be, this could be our own parents. This can be our coworkers. This can be friends. This can be our spouse or our partner, right? That's like, wait a minute, no, like, you have to leave this part of yourself behind in order for you to be present with us, in order for you to be included, in order for you to be our family member, in order for you to be our friend, in order for me to be your spouse. I need you to leave this part of yourself behind. I need you to abandon this piece of yourself. I need you to hide this piece of yourself, right? Like this new moon in Leo is like, no. New moon in Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius. The incorporation of the parts about yourself that you're afraid of people finding out about, that you're afraid to share with people, that you're afraid of being judged by others with, right? So there's an invitation for us to publicly declare who we are and to show up fully as ourselves, right? And to be fully present and to be like, listen, if you're going to love me, you got to love all of me. You got to love all parts or aspects of me, right? And I think that there's so many of us that are, in order to sustain or have or keep a certain relationship or partnership, or even in order for us to fit in and to be accepted, right? We leave a piece of ourselves behind and we abandon a piece of ourselves. And this new moon and Leo cycle that we're in is asking us, is telling us you can't do that. Every time you do that, you disrespect yourself. Every time you do that, you put yourself in conflict with yourself. Every time you do that, right, you are internalizing or accepting some kind of, some kind of fear, some kind of rejection, some kind of shame, right? So this new moon in Leo, as with the sun separating from this Pluto and Aquarius, right? We have sun opposite Pluto and Aquarius. It's kind of like asking you to embrace your inner weirdo. It's asking you to embrace the pieces of yourself that you're afraid of sharing, that you lack confidence around, that you don't. It's like letting those parts about you that you're ashamed of actually take the forefront, right? And I think that's one of the things that this new moon opposite Pluto and Aquarius is asking us to do. It's like let go of this kind of like shame, this fear, this kind of like internalized sense of judgment, like be the outsider. Being the outsider is like being an insider in the age of Aquarius, right? Like age of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius. I don't want to say age of Aquarius, but what I will say is Pluto and Aquarius is very much going to be about how those that have been deemed weird and strange and they're an outcast, like those are the one, like those are the people stepping into power, like those are the people getting celebrated, those are the people getting attention during Pluto and Aquarius, right? Over the next 20 years. Those are the people that we're looking towards when it comes to like leadership and stuff like this, right? And yeah, like flaunt your freak, exactly, right? This new moon in Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius is like you gotta transform and change and you gotta become that like butterfly, but you gotta allow those icky parts. You gotta allow those parts that other people have dissected or that have repressed or denied or that society tells you to hide or keep away. You gotta let that freak flag fly. You gotta let it out. You gotta become your full whole self, And so there's this deep invitation this week as the sun is separating from Pluto to go a little bit deeper into who you really are, into your identity, And I think another really interesting thing about this new moon in Leo, because we're in our second luminary season. We're in our second season of the luminary, right? So what's gonna come after our new moon in Leo? What's gonna come in 2 weeks? In a few weeks? Our full moon in Aquarius, which is gonna have the moon in Aquarius and the sun in Leo. But we're getting a little bit of a preceptor, right? We're getting a little bit of a we're kind of being shown what that is going to feel like even more so on an internal emotional level with this new moon that's opposite Pluto and Aquarius, right? So first we get a sun moon opposite Pluto, right, with this new moon. And then 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have the sun in Leo opposite the moon in Aquarius, right? So we have these Leo Aquarius oppositions this month that I think are very, very important. But I think this new moon in Leo, aspecting Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto that and Neptune who are in new signs, there's a new identity that we're stepping into, where there's a new timeline we're being initiated into. But it's rough and it's sad. This is not an easy, fun, and this is like, oh, new moon, yay, new moon in Leo, great. No, it's painful. It's opposite Pluto and Aquarius, and it's trining Saturn and Neptune, and it's also aspecting Uranus. So it feels chaotic. It feels like something's getting ripped up. It feels like something's getting detoxed. It feels like there's like this deep purging, that's happening. And I think that's the thing that we got to honor. Someone said so much grief lately. Yeah. Also, it's really interesting. What's also really interesting about this current astrology, and we're gonna keep talking about it this week. It's actually very important today, but um, the other thing that's been really interesting is the Venus Mars square. That's been really awkward. The Venus in Gemini squaring Mars in Virgo, with Mars separating from the South Node in Virgo. That energy last week, it's still in the air this week. We have Mars at 24 and we have Venus at 27. One of the things I will say is everything with like relationships and love and our inner sense of like peace and balance and harmony and like all that's going to start to get better this week when Venus goes into Cancer. So we have Venus moving into Cancer. Thank God. Oh my God, I love Venus in Cancer. Oh, I love my that's my fifth house too. Ooh. Ooh, who am I meeting in who am I meeting in August? So Venus goes into Cancer on it looks like Thursday the 31st. Thank goodness. Because we've been having this Venus Mars square that's been a little clunky and it's been caught. I feel like it's been wreaking havoc. It's been like doing a lot of damage. And so we have Venus moving into Cancer on Thursday, which kind of frees us from this Mars square Venus thing that we've been having going on, which has been really funky and really weird. Also, is gonna kind of firmly be separated from the South Node this week. That's been draining our energy. Who else has been feeling just like no energy, just like exhaustion, tired, or they've been feeling like, I don't know, just like getting little tasks done every day has been like very irritating or very frustrating, or like your energy is like some days you're like, ooh, I'm like ready to go about my day, and then all of a sudden, an hour or two in, you're like, I have no energy, I can't do this. Or you just like give up out of irritation and frustration. Like, I just can't. Who else has been there? Like, it just feels like getting things done is like, it's taking an extra oomph. It's taking a little bit more energy out of us. Well, that's because Mars has been conjunct the South Node. Okay. So one of the things you always want to remember about the South Node, or K2, as it's known in Vedic or Eastern astrology, is that the South Node and K2, they weaken, they deprive, they deplete us of energy, or it. I want to say, well, I'm saying they. It depletes us of energy. It takes the South Node is like a black hole. It like saps, it takes, it deprive, it exhausts. Another word you can use for the South Node is it dissolves, all right, or it dilutes. That's another good word for the South Node. But yeah, the South Node has a way of kind of like releasing us and freeing us from energy, but it's like yeah, that's like the good thing, right? Whenever we're having a South Node transit, we're being asked to kind of just like sit in silence and be quiet and like meditate and like be in our own little world in some type of way. And you'll see this whenever the South Node is transiting your sun or your moon. You'll have a few days where you're just like where am I at right now? And your dreams are really active and you feel very isolated and very solitary and you feel like you don't really want to energetically interact with others. Like that's what happens when the South Node is transiting your sun or your moon, or your sun and moon, or your sun and moon is being transited by the South Node in transit. But when Mars is going over the South Node, we get losses. We see energetic losses, deplete, energetic depletion. Also, a lot of people have been like, oh, we had the sun opposing Pluto, so we had a lot of celebrities die, right? We had a lot of people that are in the limelight pass away, right? Over the last like week or so, it's been crazy the amount of people that we've had pass. But it's not just been the sun opposite Pluto and Aquarius. It hasn't just been that. It's actually been Mars going over the South Node, which is why we've seen many men passing away because Mars is the planet that is connected to men. Okay. And so what was really interesting is we did have a few Leos pass away, Hulk Hogan. There's another guy, the first guy that passed away, I can't remember his name, the black man. He was a Leo as well. But we actually had a few mutable people pass away, and that is because of the Mars and the South Node conjunction in Virgo. So we had some Saggies, I think, pass away. But that's because we have the Mars South Node conjunction. So, yeah, Malcolm Jamal Warner. There we go. Thank you for giving me his name. Rest in peace, Mikey or Malcolm. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yeah, there you go. Sorry for your loss. Yep. So, yeah, so Mars in the South Node. That's what we get when we lose people. Yeah, loss of pets. This is something I've been talking about ongoing is pets getting ill, pets getting sick, and people's pets passing away, or pets dealing with injuries, like getting weird, getting inflammation and getting weird diseases and parasites and just weird ish happening to pets. I saw it with my brother actually. When I went to go visit my parents, my brother's dog actually was sick with pancreatitis, Virgo, pancreas. Virgo is connected to the pancreas. That's because the South Node and Mars are in Virgo. Virgo was pets, right? It's the sign of pets. So when we have the South Node and Mars going through Virgo, well, guess what? We have a lot of pets who are getting sick, who are getting ill, right? We have a lot of pets who get injured. Yeah, it's really sad. It's the Mars and the South Node thing. Mars and the South Node are together are menaces. I want you guys to, whenever you see the Mars and the South Node in the sky transiting one another, like what we had last week, they're now pretty separate from each other. They're still it's but I think we're gonna still feel it until Mars gets out of Virgo. Yeah, they're within 3 degrees of each other. So we're still feeling, and we have Moon in Virgo today going over Mars in the South Node. So, my dog has been down, like said. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Everyone that's been losing pets and who's grieving somebody, and grieving a celebrity because you guys identify with celebrities so much. I feel like sometimes people they cry more for a celebrity than they do when their own family passes. What's wrong with you guys? Oh, Michael Jamal Warner passed. Oh. And then they get news when their dad passed. Oh, he did? Finally. We've been waiting for finally. They heard through the grapevine. Oh, my daddy did? Oh my God, thank God. But Mr. Jamal Warner passed, and oh, they're devastated. I don't know why I keep saying Malcolm. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Someone said it's so weird to me. It's okay, I've been there. I know what that feels like. When Aaliyah passed away, I was a mess. When Aaliyah passed, oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. I was grieving for like 2 months. That was a rough one. When Aaliyah passed away, that one right there. That one was rough. What's another one that hit me pretty hard? When Aaliyah passed, that one hit me. I think when Princess Diana passed, I think that was like a global collective grieving that we all did as well when because she was an angel. She was such a gem. She was so sweet. And I think we all, there's something that we all could, there's like something that we all could collectively relate to when Princess Diana passed. Someone said when Prince passed away. Prince and Michael. Yeah, but I feel like, oh, when Selena passed, when that bitch took our Selena. That one was so devastating. Yeah, Left Eye. There's a like Left Eye, Prince, and Michael Jackson. I don't know. There's something about their transitions that were like weird or off or something. I don't know. There was something about Prince, Michael Jackson, and also TL and Left Eye. When those three passed, I don't know. There's something awkward. There's something weird about their passing. Same thing with Kobe. Kobe was really sad. That was a really sad one too. That one too. There's something surrounded. It's like they're surrounded in mystery. I don't know. There's something funky. There's something off about them passing. Even in Kobe too. Like there's something about that. About yeah, Left Eye, the way she passed, or something just weird. I don't know. There's something really funky. Or there's like a weird energy around their passing, which didn't allow me to mourn with like clarity. But yeah, so we've been having a lot of people passing away. It's purging season. It's like a Sun Pluto opposite thing. The people passing away is like Sun opposite Pluto, and the new moon opposite Pluto. The sun is the life bringer, is the life giver, right? The sun is what gives us vitality, what gives us our life force. But it was the Sun opposite Pluto and the combination of the Mars and the South Node and the Mercury retrograde in Leo. So like Mercury retrogrades always create yeah, Robin Williams is really sad. He had like some kind of he had like a degenerative mental disease, didn't he? Or like a brain disease or something. He had like a really weird disease, but you could see that in his chart. I think I broke down Robin Williams' chart when all that happened. Welcome everybody coming in. So anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So when Mercury goes retrograde, right? What we get is electrical malfunctions, or what we get is the organs of the body associated with wherever Mercury is gonna possibly malfunction in some type of way. So with Mercury retrograde in Leo, what do we get? We're getting heart malfunctioning, heart circulatory malfunction, or people's cardiovascular, like people have cardiovascular issues, cardiovascular disease, right? Their heart malfunctions. So it's really interesting how we had Mercury retrograde in Leo. I believe it was on Hulk Hogan's, it was in his rising on his, I think he's a Leo. It was on his Pluto. I think with Mercury retrograde was on two people's Plutos in Leo. Those because they both had Pluto and Leo generation. I think Mercury retrograded on their Pluto and Leos. Pluto's in Leo is the right way to say it, I guess. And their heart stopped, or at least we know with Hulk Hogan that he went into cardiac arrest. So that's like it's like sometimes it takes a certain combination or certain there's a multitude of things that need to happen in order for us to pass away, or in order for um not in order for us to pass away. That wasn't the right way to say it. There needs to be a combination of celestial events or celestial occurrences that trigger something that allow something to happen to us, or that come together to make something happen to us, right? So, what's also really interesting is that Hulk Hogan, I was ready to say the Hulk. He actually had a moon in Virgo as well. He's a Leo rising with a Leo sun, and he had a Virgo moon, and the South Node and Mars are going over his moon in Virgo. So it wasn't just Mercury retrograde in Leo, it wasn't just the new moon in Leo opposite Pluto, but it was actually the South Node and Mars that were hitting him as well. So it's really interesting. Like you'll see this, that it's like it's a combination of things, or it's a multitude of things that will trigger like certain events for some people and stuff based on their transit and stuff. So it's just something interesting, right? Something interesting. But yeah, so anyways, um some astrology, so we're gonna get into the astrology of the week, but one of the big things this week that we have happening astrologically is Venus goes into Cancer, which is wonderful. Um, we're actually going to have Venus and Mars going into new signs. So Venus goes into Cancer this week on Thursday. And then I believe, is it next week that Mars goes into Libra? I need Mars get out of Virgo. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we need to get rid of Mars, the planet himself. Because Mars is a problem. I swear I'm so done with Mars. Mars be pissing me off every day. And then so on August 7th, we have Mars go into Libra. That's happening, what is that, next week? And next week, next Thursday, and Mars is gonna oppose Saturn. Oh, bruh, bruh. Mars is gonna oppose Saturn and Neptune next Thursday. So not this week, but next Thursday, August 7th. We have Mars go into Libra, opposing Saturn and Aries. And yeah, that's gonna be a rough one. We'll talk about it when we get there, okay? But that's not gonna be nice when it comes to relationships and partnerships. That's gonna be a little bit of a tension point or an action point or a friction point for cardinal signs. This kind of Saturn and Aries, what the Saturn and Aries narrative is meant to be for some people. Um, but for a lot of people, their Saturn and Aries narratives haven't even started yet. So, but I don't know. We'll see. Venus goes into Cancer, squaring Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. Mars goes into Libra, opposing Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. So we'll talk about that when we get there, okay? But I will say on Thursday, we are going to go into a Venus um Saturn square. Buh. We have a Venus Saturn square on Thursday as soon as Venus goes into Cancer. And I think that's going to be a little rough at first, okay? So but we'll talk about that, all right? We'll talk about that. Um Venus square Saturn, my loves. That's a little rough. Anybody have Venus in aspect to Saturn in their own birth chart? Anybody have Venus conjunct Saturn or Venus square opposite Saturn? Anybody have that in their birth chart? Someone said we tired. I know, my love. Listen, you guys. Okay, listen. Okay. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to life. You have a Venus Saturn aspect, Mystic Green, in your chart? Tell me, let's talk about your love life. Tell me about that. What's your love life been like? Because Venus square Saturn or Venus opposite Saturn is a rough one. It's rough to have that. It's like when you have that in your birth chart. Oh, Venus conjunct Pluto. Oh. Oh. Venus square Cancer rising and Venus in Aries. Oh. Someone said we'd be talking about the Mercury Cazimi on Thursday. Yes, I was going to talk about that next. The shirt says it all. A shit show from 15 to 35, she said, with the Venus square Saturn. Or Venus and Gemini posing. Oh, that's a crazy one. Yeah, those. I have a friend who has that. I have a friend who has Venus and Gemini opposite Saturn, Uranus, and Sagittarius. Yeah, Matilda says she has Venus and Gemini opposite Saturn and Sag. Yeah. Do you have Uranus involved with it too? Probably not. Some people that were born like 87, 86, 87, 88. They have Saturn, Uranus together, hitting their Venus and Sag or opposing their Venus and Sag. I found a stable partner at 34, but it's still a lot. Yeah, so the thing about having Venus and Saturn, oh, you have that? You have a Saturn Uranus opposite Venus? Yeah. I know a few people who have that. Who's born 87? Okay, yeah, I thought so. So, it's wild. Aquarius, Venus, Sexton, Aries, Saturn. Oh, that's manageable, but you still have, yeah, you still have Saturn influencing both of your Venus or influencing your Venus, right? So, but anyways, yeah. So the thing when you have Saturn in a harsh aspect with your Venus, it's like you deal with these patterns and relationships that have a lot to do with control, neglect, that have a lot to do with like power battles, where you'll date older people or you'll be the older woman or older partner in a relationship. There's a lot of things around like you have to learn about your self-worth. You have to learn about, proper boundaries in relationships. You have to learn, to free yourself from those that are going to try to control you or dominate you or like, tell you what you're worth and stuff like that, right? What happens when people have Venus and Saturn in a harsh aspect with each other, especially a square in opposition, is they have karma with love that has a lot to do with like neglect and abuse. And a lot of it can be financial, psychological, or emotional. So that's one of the things that we forget about Saturn, and how he operates when it comes to relationships, especially if people have harsh, harsh personal planets, especially Moon, Venus. If you have either of those planets in a harsh aspect with Saturn, a lot of much of the abuse that you're going to experience, or that you can experience, I don't want to say that you will, but you can experience in relationships, will be psychological, emotional, or material, or financial in some type of way. So it's a little bit different than Mars, right? Because Mars, when you have like Mars opposite Venus, or Mars opposite the moon, or Mars square Venus or the moon, or even Mars conjunct Venus or the moon, the abuse that you're going to experience, or the neglect you're going to experience, is going to be more about arguments and fighting and anger. It's going to be more physical. It's more apparent. It's more obvious. Where Saturn, when he shows up in with, an aspect to set to Moon Venus, when he shows up in relationships, like Saturn's energy, when he shows up in your relationships, if you have Saturn aspects of Moon Venus, it's more, it can be more covert or more subversive, or it can be more hidden and more like hard to recognize or hard to see. Because Saturn is a very psychological planet, and Saturn's also, he could be very emotional. And because Saturn, right, you got to think about it. Capricorn opposes Cancer, right? Saturn, Capricorn opposes Cancer, the moon. So Saturn's control and his abuse and neglect, and when you have him in aspect to Venus or the moon, it's a lot different. It can be very hard to see. You could end up a prisoner of a spouse or a partner. You can end up letting them control you or dominate you. You can end up, they could be in a position to where they have more societal power. So they have like, let's say they're the breadwinner, right? They pay for everything. That gives them all this power in the relationship. And then you get taken advantage of. You have no autonomy, no freedom in your life, and they use like money or resources to like control you. Like that's a Saturn thing, you know? Also another one that's really interesting, another way that Saturn shows up in like in abuse, especially when an aspect of Venus or the moon, is by isolating people. So, and there's like sociopaths, or like I would even say there's like narcissistic people that do this. But what they'll do is they'll turn everyone in your family or your friends, like, or even like coworkers, against you, and they'll like isolate you. Or they'll like keep you to themselves, and they like isolate you from society. Like you can't hang out with your friends, you can't go see your family, you can't go outside, like that, you know? And so, but it's crazy because many times, people will see it as like, oh, they just really care for me, or they're just very protective or defensive. Oh, they're just really jealous. But what happens is they take it to such an extreme that and the whole purpose is to cut you off or block you off from like society and from any kind of social network, so that they have full control over you, right? So they have full say over you. And so that you keep the bad stuff in the relationship private or secret, right? So Saturn works like this. A lot of people don't understand the way Saturn shows up in synastry sometimes when we have bad Saturn aspects with others, or even when we have, Saturn in our own chart heavily influencing our seventh house, our Venus, our moon, our relationship houses. You know, yes, that was the person I had to escape from during my Saturn return. Yeah, it's crazy because what Saturn does, right? Saturn makes you a prisoner. And this is one of the things you got to remember is like sometimes you become a prisoner with a Saturn experience or a Saturn person, or if you have Saturn in your chart, without you become a prisoner without realizing it. It's like it's all of a sudden you're in jail and you're like, how did I get here? Oh my gosh, right? Because the way it happens, it's kind of like you put yourself in the cage and you don't realize, right, when you're in the situation that a cage is coming up around you, or that you're becoming a person's prisoner, or you're becoming a prisoner to a relationship. And this happens in different ways. Usually people that have this, they felt that way towards a parent, which is also why they become, it's so comfortable or so natural for them to experience a relationship with someone that like takes away their freedom, or that imprisons them, or that kind of like isolates them, because parents also do this. Like usually when people have patterns of this in their own relationships, it's because they had a parent do it to them when they were growing up, right? They were a prisoner or to one of their parents in some type of way. It was usually like the mother or the father that they had that kind of dynamic with, so they recreate that dynamic with with a spouse or in their love life or even this, but it happens in different ways though. Sometimes it shows up in the workplace too. Sometimes this also shows up in friendships. So it just doesn't have to be a romantic experience. But you gotta, if you have Saturn aspecting your Venus or your moon in your chart, or you have a prominent Saturn, you have a lot of Saturn energy, you need to be very aware of this. Because sometimes it can be really hard to see because the way that Saturn works is so like unconscious, subconscious. He's very subversive. Um, he's not very, Saturn isn't necessarily overt all the time. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's get back to the astrology of the week. I just had a little tangent there. Just want to share that with you guys. And the reason why I brought that up is because, why did I bring that up? Because Venus and Saturn are going to be squaring each other on Thursday. And I'm really feeling that Venus square Saturn. She's been going through it. Venus has been going through it. Venus, she's been in Gemini, okay? She's been square the nodes in Mars, all right? Um, and then now she's going into Cancer, which we love because she's going to be conjoining Jupiter, which is going to be an amazing transit. We love Venus conjunct Jupiter. It's going to be great. But as she ingresses into Cancer on Thursday, she immediately forms a square with Saturn and Neptune. So, why is this important? Let's talk about it. Because things with relationships and partnerships are feeling confusing. They're feeling tough. They're feeling, it's like we want to communicate, we want to talk, we want to figure things out. Venus and Gemini, we want to socialize, we want to integrate, we want to find balance. But Mercury's retrograde, Venus is in Gemini, Venus has been squaring the South Node in Mars, and now Venus is going into Cancer, squaring Saturn. So this is kind of like, you know, Venus coming, I don't want to say she's coming under attack, but she's definitely been afflicted and irritated. Like, there's a lot of feelings of, I'm thinking of Venus and Gemini squaring the South Node in Mars and Virgo. It's like, I'm not good enough for my partner. My partner's not good enough for me. We keep talking about the issues and the problems in our relationship, but we're just running in circles. Like we're not moving towards any kind of solutions, or it feels like, there's no end in sight, or it just feels like maybe that there's just a lot of work that needs to be done in order to fix or repair things or heal things, or it feels like it's just like irritating, right? That Venus and Gemini squaring Mars in the South Node of Virgo, or we're just depleted. We feel drained by the situation. We feel exhausted by the situation. We feel like fighting for it or working for it or trying to achieve something or even, setting a goal for it or even communicating and working. It's like it's not getting anywhere. It's like Mercury's retrograde. Mars in the South Node are squaring Venus and Gemini. It's like, it's like there's too much, there's like, the little steps, or there's no clarity with the steps and things like this. But I think Venus and Aries, I'm sorry, Venus and Cancer scoring Mars and Air, scoring Saturn and Aries and Neptune. It's like there's like a breaking point, or there's like a wall that we hit. Venus and Cancer squaring Saturn and Aries. It feels like a wall. This feels like a wall that we hit. Or this even feels like an action point, a revelation point, like we're gonna do something. But we may not feel ready or prepared for that. Okay. But what we do love is Venus moving into Cancer with Jupiter. I actually think Venus in Cancer is one of my favorite placements for Venus. I love when people have Venus in Cancer. I just think that like it makes them so sweet and so kind and so loving and so nurturing. And I feel like anyone that has Venus in Cancer, especially when a man has Venus in Cancer, I really like it. He's gonna be like your parent, you know? He's gonna mommy you and daddy you and make you help you heal all your parental wounds. I love when a man has Venus in Cancer. I love it. He's so sweet and he's so close to his family and he's so nurturing, but he's a little sensitive, you know, and things like this. I love when a man has Venus in Cancer. And when a woman has Venus in Cancer, she's just so kind and just so nice. It's one of my favorite placements. And for Venus, I just love Venus in Cancer, you know. It's a very loyal place for Venus. I think people that have Venus in Cancer, they're very kind of, even though they love fast and you know, they love hard and they love fast and but they're in it for the long run. It's like one of my favorite Venus placements, okay? We've been live now for about an hour. Someone said cancer men are sometimes too soft for me. My oldest has that, and sometimes she acts like my parent. It's funny. Yeah, I love it. I love when people have Venus in Cancer. I think it's a great placement for love and romance and stuff. I think it's a very loyal placement for Venus, and I think Venus does great in there, you know. But we got to think Venus squares Saturn Neptune on Thursday, okay? This can bring up some issues or problems that we should already be aware of in relationships because Venus and Mars have been squaring each other. So, but yeah, Venus and Saturn, it's interesting because that could also be like a commitment point for some people, or that can also be like a let's talk about our boundaries in our relationship and let's talk about the future. You know, cardinal signs are very future oriented. Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, and Libra, they're always talking about where they're going, what they're doing in the future. These are signs that are very, very future oriented, the cardinals. You know. So yeah, so it's very interesting. Let's see what happens with Venus square Saturn. But what I will say that day, Thursday, we may be questioning our worth or questioning our value. We can experience a moment of rejection or hardship or difficulty, or there could be something that we were like we anticipated or expected for there to be a good outcome and we don't get it, okay? Because of the Venus Saturn square, right? Saturn is also in a superior square to Venus. So Saturn, he's kind of has more power. Um, Aries, right? The sign of Aries, because it's the 10th sign away from Cancer. Aries has more say, is more powerful, is in an exalted. I don't want to use that language. Aries is in a stronger position, and that's the right way to say it, than Cancer, okay? Because Aries is the 10th house away from the sign of Cancer. Okay. So, unfortunately, with Venus square Saturn, Saturn gets the final say here. Saturn is in a stronger position compared to Venus. Okay. So, we might have to buckle, we might have to fold, or maybe a cancellation or a delay, or there could be something challenging or difficult, or we can just have some, challenging experiences with Venusian things on Thursday. So, just something to be aware of. And even as Saturn dissipates, or as Venus separates from Saturn, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because she's going like I think she's going a degree a day at this point. Let's see. Oh, my internet's not working. What happened? Hey, Kayla, waving at everybody coming in. Thank you guys for being here. So then we're gonna talk about. I'm waiting for my internet to like. Okay, there it goes. Okay, it's moving. It's moving now. Yeah, because Thursday, Friday, we're still feeling the Venus Saturn square going into the weekend. All right. So the other thing that we have happening today, this week, today, we'll get to today, okay, when I'm talk about the moon transit. Um, Come on, internet, what are you doing to me? We have a Sun Mercury Cazimi. It's one of my favorite words to say. It's like one of my favorite astrology words. Um, Cazimi. I love that. I love that word. You're driving to Florida. Where are you headed? Take me with you. I've been on vacation still. I feel like I should have just took a whole month off, honestly. I've been in vacation mode still. I feel like I needed a month this time around. Come on, guys. Come on, internet. What are you doing to me? What you doing to me, internet? Hold on, y'all. Taking a little intermission here as my computer waiting for my computer to load. So we have a Kazemi. Someone said it's cute. Clearwater area. That don't mean nothing to me. I don't know Florida like that. Okay, here we go. Are we back in action? Okay, we're back in action. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have a Sun Mercury Cazimi. Let me get the day. You have a reading coming up this week? Ooh, fun. What would be your next vacay destination if you could go on another trip? That's a good question. Where do I want to go? I really want to go to India. I really, 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 really want to go to India. I think that's gonna be my next. Oh, okay. So I either want to do like Thailand, the Philippines, or India. Venus Kazemi would be a good drag name. That would be a good drag name. Okay, hold on. I gotta get the day right. Hold on, they're separating from each other. Trying to find the day. I have Mercury at 8 and the Sun at 9. So is it going backwards? Hold on. Maybe I need to go backwards. Mercury is clearly in Gatorade right now because in my sixth house, because like basic day-to-day things, I just cannot live my life right now. I feel like I need like a Mercury retrograde like person to help me just live my daily life. Because this Mercury retrograde has been a messy one, y'all. My car got was demolished. Also, for those of you thinking that I was in the car when my car got hit, I was not. My car was parked. I was not in the car. 8. Okay, so I'm okay. So I guess we have our Sun Mercury Kazemi on Thursday, but they do this thing where they switch. Oh my gosh, that's what's going on here. So the sun goes to 9 as Mercury goes to 8 on Thursday evening. So I'm over here trying to figure out what degree, I'm trying to figure out what degree this happens at. And what we have happen within an hour is the sun goes to 9 degrees, and then Mercury, who's at 9, goes to 8 degrees. And they pass each other. So what degree technically is this Kazemi at? Oh, it's at 9. It's at 9 degrees. Okay. Yeah, so they sit at 9 degrees together for like a few minutes, and then Mercury goes to 8. Okay, it's happening at 9. I was trying to get the degree down of the Mercury retrograde. You're getting out of the way. Let the Kazemi flip the RX for you, right? Wave at everybody coming in. Hello. Hi, Hannah. You need to align your chanclas. The cost of the hotels there are really cheap. So that's the thing is like I was thinking about traveling the next place I want to travel to, and the next place I want to travel to, I want to make sure that I'm getting a really good bang for my butt because Europe is expensive, especially right now. If you're an American and you travel to Europe, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more for everything because the dollar is so weak compared to the euro. But like if you go to like Thailand or if you go to like Philippines or if you go to like India, your dollar will go really, really far. Is Thursday not a good day? Um, the moon's in Scorpio that day, squaring Pluto, and that's our waning square from our new moon. I think Thursday's hard. Okay. Okay. Disclaimer though, right? This general disclaimer for this year, for 2025, is this is a rough year. This is a rough year. We have these little moments, these little flashes of positivity astrologically this year. The majority, the majority of the astrology this year is rough. And that's just the truth. Okay. The astrology that's happening this year is pretty rare, I will say. It's very rare that we get Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter and Pluto all going into a new sign in one year. That's a rare thing. Usually they're tiered, right? Usually Uranus goes into one sign in one year, and then a few years later, Neptune will enter another sign, and then a few years later, your Pluto enter. It's very rare they all go into new signs together. So the thing when we have so many planets transitioning signs, the bigger ones especially at the same time, it's just very climactic and it's very dramatic. And when you go into a new sign, you end things and you begin things, and that's kind of where we're at. So, yeah, rapid change paradigm. Yeah. And I think what's so intense about this current astrology is like how fast and quick it's happening, and how those of us, even us millennials, right? Like we haven't lived through something like this, you know? Like we haven't been through a revolution. We haven't been through like, yeah, we lived through 9/11. Yeah, we lived through like, the housing crash in 2008 and stuff, but we haven't really have to chat to my bosses who forgot I'm planning to go away end of August on Thursday. Thank you. You're welcome. Um, so we haven't really lived through like trying times the way we are now. This is like this decade, right? This like 10-year period, 2020 to 2030, it's meant to it's like kind of like initiating us into this really profound period of change in humanity. And I think we just got to like lean in and embrace it, because human beings, we've been in these positions before, but it's just like so dramatic and traumatic because I think of the, I think it's like this time around, it's the level of change um that's happening. And it's also because it's a little bit more complex because there's so many different players. We have like AI, technology, we got like global pandemics now. We got like there's just a lot, So, but yeah, anyways. So going back to what I was talking about, we have a Sun Mercury Cazimi on Thursday. Right as Venus goes into Cancer, interestingly enough, we have Sun Mercury Cazimi, and it's happening at 9 degrees, which is a Sag degree. And what's also interesting about this Cazimi is the moon goes into Scorpio this day, and it squares the new moon. So if we think about where is Mercury going, right? Mercury is pulling behind the sun. So Mercury was started retrograding ahead of the sun. Now he's going back behind the sun. Okay. So what's interesting about this particular Mercury Cazimi that's going to be in Leo at a Sag degree is I think this is going to have a lot to do with I'm trying to think the downs I'm getting. I think this is going to have a lot to do with us going back to kind of like I'm just gonna share it because it's a download that came to me, so I'm just gonna share it. Um, Going back to abandoned goals or visions, or even going back to parts of ourselves that we have abandoned. I think there's a lot of pieces of our inner child that are kind of like resurfacing. Certain experiences or certain identities or certain memories or certain recollections of things that we have associated with in the past that we want to reconnect to or go back to because there's something of value there, or there's something that's really important to us there. There's something that we're really passionate about, you know? One of the things I will say in general, though, when there is a Sun Mercury Cazimi, we usually tend to have these moments of like revelation and epiphany, or we have these like realizations, right? Where we all of a sudden, because the Sun and Mercury, which have a lot to do with insight in the mind and consciousness, that's what they have in common, right? The Sun is more our own individual, unique soul's perspective, or these divine moments of creative insight, or even these divine moments of inspiration. You know, like when a light bulb goes off. That's what the sun has everything to do with. Mercury has everything to do with our day-to-day thoughts, the day-to-day rummaging, our day-to-day decision making. Like it's just, the inner dialogue that's always going inside of our brain, like us always talking to ourselves, or us that inner voice, that's Mercury, right? But when the sun and Mercury come into alignment, that kind of like divine insight and that divine clarity, and then the mind, the decision making, and like those that they come together. So those energies that come together, and all of a sudden it's like it's like a breath of fresh air in the mind. It's like all of a sudden our thoughts are aligned with our insights in some type of way, right? So I think, we could be having like a divine moment. We could have a divine moment of clarity or insight or revelation. Or we can make a choice or a decision, or even another download I just got. We can receive information on this day that we've been waiting for, okay, that gives us clarity with the choice moving forward, okay? So, but we got to keep in mind, right? Mercury is going from being ahead of the sun to behind the sun, and like now transversing behind the sun, right? And they're going opposite directions. So I think that separation of sun and Mercury, that's going to continue throughout the week after Thursday, right? Going into next week. As that's like kind of like the midpoint of our Mercury retrograde, right? Sun Mercury Cazimi is the midpoint of our Mercury retrograde. That Sun Mercury Cazimi is going to be asking us from when Mercury started retrograding, like what now, a week and a half ago, roughly. Um, what have you learned about yourself? You know, because Mercury's been retrograde in Leo, right? So we've been reflecting on our identity, our passions, our joy. We've been reflecting about our past. We've been reflecting about our inner child. We've been reflecting on our relationship with authority and power. We've been reflecting on like how we show up in the world, how we present ourselves to the world. Are we being confident? Are we sharing our light? Do we see ourselves as authentic, creative, expressive, joyous, courageous beings, right? And if we have abandoned some piece of this within ourselves, or if we need to go back to it, if we need to breathe life back into it, well, I think the Sun Mercury Kazemi is that moment of like, you can do this. You can believe in yourself. It's like a moment of epiphany in some type of way around something that we have forgotten or lost about ourselves. So I think, the Sun Mercury Cazimi on Thursday going into Friday is really powerful. I think it's very excavating too. I'm just looking at it also squaring the moon and Pluto. And so, or the moon in Scorpio. So I'm really feeling like there's like tremendous deep revelation and shedding. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde is giving us opportunity to like leave something behind, right? We want to leave something behind. We want to let something go. We want to grieve something because I'm just thinking about Mercury kind of moving into this, yeah, opposition with Pluto and Aquarius, you know? Mercury's going to station opposite Pluto. When Mercury goes back to his degree where he's going to go direct, which is four, I believe. It might be three, but let me just double check. It's four, yeah. He's going to go back to 4 degrees. Mercury goes direct on August from the 9th to the 10th, right? We've been in this period of kind of like reflection when it comes to our Leo house and all the Leo things. And I think Mercury direct is going to be great, but it's like it's opposing Pluto and Aquarius, so it's really interesting how we've this month's astrology, or I would say Leo season's astrology, the Mercury retrograde, the new moon, they all have this intimate relationship with Pluto and Aquarius that is happening. And I think, this Leo season is really asking us to, or maybe I don't even think it's asking, I think it's showing, right? Leo season, Leo's energy that shows, that reveals. Leo's energy that's like, here, let me show you this, right? It's like about revelation. It's like the sun's energy. It's like illumination. So it's illuminating kind of like this tension between our past self and our future self, you know? It's illuminating this tension between who we've been and where we're going and who we want to become in some type of way, you know? Someone said it's interesting the Mercury station opposite Pluto happens the same time Venus and Jupiter go conjunct. Yeah, I'm looking at Venus and Jupiter. Venus is at 11 and Jupiter's at 13. And that is a beautiful, sweet conjunction. That if there's any day to propose or get married, okay, I would say Sunday, August 10th is looking pretty good. Um, if I can make that happen, if I can get married on a Venus Jupiter conjunction, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make it happen. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It's actually, I would actually wait maybe until like Monday. Let's see, August 11th. We have Venus at 12 and Jupiter at 13. And then on Tuesday, August 12th, we have a Venus Jupiter conjunction at 14 degrees, a Taurus degree. That is beautiful. The astrology, but we have Mars in Libra opposite Saturn in Aries. Who knows? I can meet my hubby on Tuesday, August 12th. You never know. Tomorrow. What song was I singing? Um, oh yeah. You know what song I was singing this morning? It's so random. 8/10 is your mom's birthday. That's your brother's birthday. It's so interesting. Oh, we had two birthdays showing up at the same time, or two people talking about birthdays at the same time. So you know what song was came to me this morning when I was thinking about the new moon opposite Pluto and Aquarius? Torn, I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I cold and I am shamed, bound and broken on the floor. You're a little late. You guys know that song? I was thinking of like the sun opposite Pluto and how they're like, it's like I'm torn. I'm torn between like, I love you, but I can't, but I want to be with you and I can't live without you, but then like you're just terrible for me and you're toxic and like we just can't do this anymore because like whenever you leave, I'm just on the floor, just like battered and ashamed, like torn, yes, my love. And happy new moon. That song came to me when I was thinking about the new moon in Leo. How dramatic. And also like just the drama of like Leo new moon is just like it's just like new moon opposite Pluto and Aquarius. It's like I'm just like on the floor and I'm naked and I'm being extra dramatic and I'm crying extra hard and everything is just so sad and everything is just like in the moment, Like it's such like a Leo thing. Being dramatic in the moment, having to crash out in the moment, like throwing the clothes everywhere, breaking a few things, like yeah. New Moon and Leo vibes, opposite Pluto and Aquarius. So, anyways, let's get back to the chart at hand. So, all right, we are. We're at 10:16. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in. We've had a few tangents, but let's bring it back. Okay, let's bring it back. So, we talked about our Sun Kazemi, Sun Mercury Kazemi on Thursday. We talked about Venus going into Cancer on Thursday. All right, let's dive into the astrology. Let's talk about the moon. Let's talk about the moon. Let's talk about the moon for the week. Okay, what the moon is doing for the week. All right. So the moon is in Virgo today. And then manana, Tuesday, Wednesday, the moon is in Libra, going up until Thursday. And then on Thursday, the moon goes into Scorpio. All right. So the moon in Virgo today and yesterday, today, yesterday. Moon in Virgo, the moon is literally sandwiched between the South Node and Mars today. Okay. So today it can feel a little rough. The moon's going to square Venus, which is actually good. But today, the moon's with Mars in the South Node. So I just want to, just give y'all a heads up. All right. Today, if it feels a little weird, if it feels funky, it feels off, if it feels like a scam, if it irritates you and bothers you, okay, then trust your instinct, trust your gut, trust what your feelings are telling you. Move away from it, let it go. Do not engage with it, okay? Someone said Chiron retrogrades. Let's see. Chiron goes retrograde. You're right. Chiron goes retrograde on the 31st, it looks like. I'm looking at from July 30th to 31st, Chiron goes retrograde. So, all right. So today, be chill. If you don't start no ish, there will be no ish. Moon Mars together, okay? If you feel a little tired or exhausted today, make sure you get some rest. All right. If your stomach is irritated today, well, you could thank the South Node and the Moon and Mars for that. Okay. Um, Gossip has been a big theme with Venus and Gemini. So with the Moon squaring Venus and Gemini, this evening, no gossiping, no lying. Okay. No being dishonest. Make sure you're being honest and truthful with people. Okay. Um, you really go. So the moon in Libra is responding to Venus in Gemini. Okay. Okay. So the moon in Libra, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is responding to Venus in Gemini, who's at her last degrees of Gemini. Someone said, would it be a bad day to sign a lease? No, I don't think so. Baby, if you gotta sign a lease today, you better sign that motherfucking lease. Mercury's retrograde, but it is what it is. Here we are. I've signed many leases on a Mercury retrograde, okay? So if you gotta sign a lease today, what's your rising again? Are you Cap rising? Are you Cap rising? I'm trying to think. What's your rising sign, Melissa? I feel like you're a Cap rising with like Leo in the eighth house, right? Okay, yeah. So you're signing a lease today. So if you put Capricorn on the rising, in the 10th house, we have Libra. You have Aries in the fourth house. You have Aries in the fourth house. So Aries rules your fourth house of real estate and property, which is ruled by Mars. Okay. So what two planets do we have together in the sky? If you're a Cap rising. Well, we have, well, for everybody, right? But for you, we have Moon, Mars in the sky together today. Your Cap rising, which puts Virgo, Moon, Mars conjunction in your ninth house today. And Mars rules your fourth house of real estate and property. So, what are you thinking about doing today? As the moon is conjuncting Mars, the ruler of your fourth house of real estate and property, you are thinking about signing a lease today. and we have Moon Mars in your ninth house. I think it's a yes. I think you should say yes. I think you should do it. I think it's a vibe. Also, Mercury is retrograde. You have Sun and Moon in the eighth house. You have Mercury retrograde in your eighth house. This is about a rental, right? You're borrowing someone's real estate, you're borrowing someone's property. You're not purchasing, right? It's just a rental. It's a lease. Yeah, it's a lease. Eighth house, Mercury retrograde. Moon Mars in the ninth. Mars ruling over the fourth. You're fine. Sign your lease, my love. You're good. You're good. It's the Moon Mars coming together. Mars ruling your fourth. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think it's good for you. I love that for you. So what else? I'm sorry. Let me get back to what I was talking about. Anyways, so what I was saying is that we have the moon in Libra Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, ruled by Venus, who's at the last degrees of Gemini. She's Scorpio rising. Scorpio rising, Leo Chiron, Venus and MC, Leo Chiron. We go to an awful court thing tomorrow. Yeah, well, the moon's in Libra in your 12th house tomorrow. So Scorpio rising. What is Scorpio rising going through right now? Yeah, the moon's gonna be in your 12th house tomorrow. Bleh. You're looking at your ninth house. You have Jupiter in your ninth though, so it shouldn't be too bad. You have Venus going through your eighth. You have Mars going, or you have the moon in your 12th. You have Sun, Mercury retrograde in your 10th. Uh, 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 Yeah, the only thing I don't like, if you're a Scorpio rising and you have court, I don't really like the Venus in the eighth house for you guys. Seventh house rule in the eighth. Anyways, so Moon in Libra Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, ruled by Venus and Gemini, okay? Who's at the last degrees of Gemini. So I do think Moon in Libra is there's gonna be some kind of like there's some things that we got to figure out in the realm of partnership, relationships, the law, legal issues, Moon and Libra. Things around balance, fairness, harmony, communication things may still be a little funky, but we're still trying to figure those things out, or there's still some activity or activation of those things because the moon is in Libra and Venus is at the last degrees of Gemini and Venus is about to go into Cancer as the moon is in Libra, right, on Thursday. And so Venus is starting a new cycle with when she moves into Cancer. So there's definitely a transition point. We're feeling like things are maybe coming to completion or ending in some type of way, or we're feeling like, we're wrapping up our lessons with what Venus and Gemini was meant to be showing us or teaching us. I don't Venus and Gemini for me was just being lazy, really. It was going through my fourth house. Oh yeah, that was like hanging out with my family and going on vacation and all that. But the fourth house, Venus and Gemini, as a Pisces rising, I'm a Pisces rising. I've just been like sleeping in. It's been there was a day I woke up at 10:30 and I'm not a person that wakes up at 10:30, but I did wake. There was a day last week where I woke up at 10:30. I looked at the clock and it was 10:30 and I was like, "Wow, I cannot believe that I was able to sleep in like this." Thank you, Venus, Moon in the 12. Yeah. So the moon in Libra is kind of giving, it is the third house away from our new moon in Leo. So it's an energetic, moon transit. We're going to feel very stimulated. We maybe feel very busy. There could be some third house themes that are active Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this could be about needing to go to the DMV, having to pay off your tickets, hanging out with an aunt, uncle, sibling, cousin, neighbor, something like that. Communication, learning, information, something in the media, right, or the press can be very important. We've been getting the funniest meme events. The funniest meme things have been showing up this Mercury retrograde in Leo with Venus and Gemini. I was actually looking up the whole thing with Donald Trump and South Park and that whole thing. Someone said they got to pay off a parking ticket. Yep. You should do that, my love. Do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, okay? Um, what was so funny about the whole South Park thing and Donald Trump is that Venus was in Gemini transiting Donald Trump's Sun, North Node, and Uranus conjunction when that whole cartoon came out making fun of Donald Trump. And also because think about this, right? Gemini rules cartoons. Gemini rules sitcoms. Gemini rules like daily network television. And Gemini also rules over like caricatures. So, like comics are a Gemini thing. Okay. So it was so funny to see in the astrology Venus in Gemini going over Donald Trump's like Sun, North Node, and Uranus conjunction with the Mercury retrograde in his rising sign. And then they come out, and the South Park comes out with like a really funny cartoon caricature thing making fun of him, right? Like it was so appropriate that we would get that during a new moon in Leo with Mercury retrograde in Leo, with the combination of Mercury retrograde sextile the Venus and Gemini, though. Right? It's also why we got the two CEOs, right? Mercury retrograde in Leo. They were both CEOs, and sometimes wait, one guy was a CEO. I think they were both like leaders in their own departments that were making out at a concert, right? Or they weren't making out, but they were like hugging, and then they get exposed. That's also the Venus and Gemini sextile, the Mercury retrograde in Leo. So it's so interesting how both of those events are very much in alignment with what Venus and Gemini and Mercury retrograde in Leo is about. Venus and Gemini is about gossip and scandals, and that's another thing that you get during retrogrades. And I want you guys to start tracking this. You get scandals especially during a Venus and a Mercury retrograde, you get scandals where things that are private are made public, right? And I think it's also Mercury retrograde in Leo being literally being spotlighted, things being illuminated, right? Being embarrassed, right? You being embarrassed, like, like it's so funny and it's such a testament to the how literal astrology could be sometimes. Like sometimes astrology is very literal, like very, very literal. So you get two CEOs, Mercury retrograde in Leo, CEOs who are at a concert, Leo, who got caught fraternizing with each other, Venus in Gemini. And then we get the work element with it, right? They shouldn't, there should have been boundaries, right? You guys work with each other. You guys are both already committed partners. You guys already have marriages, right? The work element comes from the South Node Mars and Virgo. So they both got let go from their jobs, right? South Node in Virgo, Mars and Virgo. So it's the Venus and Gemini squaring the Mars and Virgo South Node, Mercury retrograde in Leo. The combination of that Venus and Gemini, Mercury retrograde in Leo, South Node Mars and Virgo is where we got that whole concert event with the two CEOs getting caught cuddling with each other at a Coldplay concert, right? It kind of allowed those celestial points brought the energies together to manifest into that situation. Yes, love it when the energies manifest in the real world. Yeah, it's so interesting to see. It's so cool to see. Nah, he's a big troll himself. He probably loved it for the recognition. Yeah, I feel like Donald Trump loves any media for him. He don't care. He likes it. Oh yeah, I saw that too. The CEO Andy wants to sue Coldplay. Oh yeah, I knew that was coming. I felt that. I saw like when I found out about this story, I was like, oh no, Coldplay's gonna get sued. They're gonna end up, getting sued for that. Chris Martin is an Aries. He has a Leo moon, I believe. Chris Martin has a Leo moon. Chris Martin birth chart. Hold on, let me see. I think he does have a Leo moon. He's a Pisces. Someone said I love that Chris Martin was an Aries. Yeah, the CEO is a Virgo, yeah. Yeah, no, Chris Martin is a Pisces, beloved. He's a Pisces, Sun, Mercury. He has Mars and Aquarius, and then he has a Leo moon. He might have Moon Saturn together in Leo. But what's interesting about Chris Martin, the reason why I knew this was going to be a problem for him, the reason why I knew that this was gonna blow up or manifest into like a problem or an issue for Coldplay was because Mercury retrograde is directly or Mercury started retrograding directly opposite Chris Martin's Mars and Aquarius. And Mercury's actually retrograding over his Saturn retrograde in Leo, and Mercury's gonna station over his moon in Leo. Well, we don't really know. We don't really know his this is like it's like C-rated accuracy in question. We have a time chart for Chris Martin that puts him as a Virgo rising, but we don't really know it. It's not really like a double A confirmed chart. So, but yeah, it says he's a Virgo rising, Leo moon, Pisces sun. He could have a Cancer moon. It's a possibility, but I think he has a Leo moon only because the Mercury retrograde. It would make sense. This Mercury retrograde in Leo, him getting caught up in it, the Coldplay getting caught up in this moment. And then the Venus and Gemini transiting his 10th, right? Which makes much sense, right? So this is also how in Chris Martin's chart, how he's brought to the public eye or how he's brought to the limelight. Because if Chris Martin is a Virgo rising, then this puts the Venus and Gemini in his 10th house of public image, public reputation, something that he gets remembered for, something that becomes notorious. And that Venus is transiting his 10th house directly opposite his Neptune. So, you know, right? Aren't there all things you consent to when you attend a concert, game, venue? No one ever seems to read the fine print of tickets. Yeah. But my thing is, right? Like concerts are Leo things. Concerts are Leo things. So when you go to a concert, also like big, like when you go to like a game, when you go to like a basketball game or a football game, that's also a Leo thing. Okay. So the thing is, when you are go also any kind of party or celebration. So if you're going to like, well, graduation is more like a Sag thing, but it does have like a Leo element to it. But like let's say you go to like a quinceañera or something like this, okay? All those are ruled by the sun. All those events are ruled by the sun. They're ruled by the sign of Leo, right? So when you go to these events, because they're solar in nature, there's this energy of things being outed and things being exposed and things being revealed, right? If you are cheating, if you are someone, you are actively, knowingly cheating, and you want to bring your hyena or you want to bring the man that you cheat, whatever, to a concert, you're already putting yourself at risk through the inherent energetics of what a concert is, or even if you're going to a game, like if you're going to like, let's say you want to take your cheating ass to the football game, you are putting yourself under the limelight. You're subjecting yourself to being revealed and being seen because you're doing a solar activity. You're doing a sun activity. So who's in the wrong, right? Yes, it's like you're being caught. Exactly. Someone said it's like you're asking for it. Exactly. You're fine with being caught. Exactly. You are asking for it. You are bringing something that should be in private, be kept private. You're bringing it to a public sphere. You're bringing light on it. You're literally shining a light upon you. You're asking for spirit in the universe and the divine to spotlight you. Okay? And you know you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. You know that you're doing something that you should be ashamed of, right? And so you go to a public environment, you go to a solar event, a solar thing, okay? Okay. And you're thinking that you can maintain your privacy in a solar place where you end up getting, you literally get spot, you literally end up getting spotlighted. There's nothing more solar than that. There's nothing more sun than that, sun energy than that, you know? And you did it to yourself. You were asking for it. Like you're asking for it. You kind of want to get caught at that point, you know? But I think it's so interesting because it's Mercury retrograde in Leo and it's making that it made that sextile to Venus in Gemini, right? So it's about shame. And I think that's one of the things that Gemini and Venus can be about. Not Gemini, no. I think it's just a Venus. I think it's a Sun Venus thing. Leo, Gemini, Sun Venus. Um, I think shame is a big part of it. Like shame. And we also see this during Venus retrograde. Like Venus retrograde also brings that energy of people being put in situations of shame where they get shamed or they get embarrassed, right? And yeah, it's like being caught doing something that you shouldn't be doing, you know? So it's interesting how we got that when Mercury was retrograding, making that sextile to Venus and Gemini. Supposedly, the wife of Andy low-key set that up. She had suspicions and paid off the people, supposedly. I agree. DCH Girl stated that there are signs that you will be recorded in those venues. So you need to accept responsibility for being put on blast. Yeah, it's like you need to know, you need to have energetic discernment to know, like, if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, that's like private or that is like scandalous, like you keep that private. There's a reason why most cheating happens in hotels because hotels are a 12 house thing. And cheating is like a 12 house, 8th house thing, you know? There's a reason why, people cheat in spaces that are private and hidden. Like if you gonna cheat, go do it in secrecy. Go do it in private. Go do it in hidden spaces. Go do it at nighttime. Like, like literally doing it in the daytime in a concert where everyone can see. Just throwing it in everyone's. You're like asking for it. I don't know what to tell you. So it's so funny. But cheating is bad. No cheating. Okay, we don't advocate cheating here. Do not cheat. Okay. You will get caught. It's the nature of the universe. Is the way listen, the universe is designed in a way to reveal things that we want to keep hidden or that we are ashamed about, that we are embarrassed about. Literally, the way this is all set up is so that things happen and events unfold in a way for things to be brought out into the open and for things to be seen and for things to be revealed. That's how this is all set up. So this is why like you'll see so many times people are accidentally getting caught doing this and people are accidentally getting caught doing that and we all know how Louis feels about cheating. I have Venus and Scorpio and a Scorpio stellium and a Capricorn moon. You know how I feel about cheating, okay? Cheating is wrong, all right? And if you are going to cheat, then you got to be willing to accept the consequences of your actions. Okay, anyways, let's go back to the astrology of the week, okay? It's already going to be 11 o'clock, so we're coming up around 2 hours. I want to wrap up at 11, so we got 20 minutes left. So, all right, Moon in Libra. Um, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay. Ruled by Venus and Gemini. Don't cheat. Okay. No cheating. Do not cheat. Do not be a cheater. No cheating. Okay. And then, and then, so on Thursday, Chiron does retrograde as it's opposing the moon in Libra. Okay. And then we also have our Cazimi the as Venus goes into Cancer. So I'm thinking that Thursday is kind of like a trigger point when it comes to relationships and partnerships. There's definitely a little bit of sensitivity that we're having around how we're feeling in our relationships or partnerships. Or even, it doesn't have to just be about love. This could also be about pretty much any connection that we're in where we're feeling things are unbalanced or unfair in some type of way. We're trying to bring things back into harmony and balance. Okay. So then the moon goes into Scorpio, and this is important because the moon in Scorpio, I feel like the moon goes into Scorpio and it squares the sun and Mercury on Friday, and it's also squaring Pluto and Aquarius. Squares Pluto and Aquarius first, and then it squares Sun and Mercury. And this is around like 3 p.m. Pacific time. Moon goes into Scorpio. And I think the moon in Scorpio is going to be pretty heavy. I think it's going to be pretty deep. I think there may be more narratives or stories around people passing or like endings and people transitioning and stuff like that. Only because and this could we can even see this maybe around women only because Venus is so afflicted. She is squaring Saturn. So we need to look out for these profound moments of transformation, revelation, and change. There could be some drama. Whenever the moon's in Scorpio and the sun's in Leo, that really opens up the door for like secret information coming to the surface and then drama unfolding after that. So we're gonna be feeling very intense, very passionate, which I'm picking up as well with the moon being in Scorpio Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. One of the beautiful things that we love. This is why I feel like this weekend is gonna be full of like fun and celebration, and it's gonna be very family oriented, and it's gonna be feel very like I don't know, like something healing, very healing about this weekend is the moon is trining Jupiter and trining Venus, especially on Friday going into Saturday. The moon is trine Venus on Friday, and the moon is trining Jupiter on Saturday. So those beautiful trines, moon trine Venus, moon trine Jupiter, those are feeling really good. They're feeling very nourishing. It's Jupiter, Venus, and Cancer with the moon in Scorpio. So this is feeling like we're connecting deeply with people emotionally and we're like getting stuff off of our chest. Like we're getting emotional burdens that we've been carrying off of our chest. We're, letting people know what we've been going through. We're having a really healing therapy session. We're talking to our mother or our grandmother or someone that's like a motherly figure or like a very supportive figure those days. So it feels like a very nurturing, very grounding, very healing weekend. Okay. And then on Sunday, the moon is going into Sagittarius, which is our sun, Mercury, moon in Sag, trining the sun and Mercury in Leo, trining Saturn, Neptune in Aries. So we have this beautiful grand trine between the fire signs on Sunday. So I think Sunday is going to be very fun, very celebratory. Oh, you know what's so interesting about that day actually is that's actually my dad's birthday. And my parents are going to be up here, so we're actually going to be celebrating his birthday on Sunday. And it looks like we're going to have a lot of fun. The moon's going to be in Sag, which is my 10th. I have Sun, Mercury in my 6th, and I have Saturn in my 2nd. So we are definitely going to be spending some money that day. And taking my dad out to go eat and stuff like this. It's gonna be really cool, and it's gonna be all over my social media because the moon's gonna be in my 10th house. So you guys will be coming along with me on Sunday to whatever I do with my dad. My mom and my dad are gonna be coming and visiting tomorrow on Tuesday. Yeah, they're coming tomorrow. So but yeah, so that wraps up our week. Moon in Sag, Moon trine Sun Mercury. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the moon's gonna be in Sag. This is about integrating some of our new moon and Leo lessons. Going into Sunday of this week, going into next week. It's gonna be very fun, very exciting, very expansive. We are feeling with the moon in Sag, it's kind of like good. It's like a party. It's like a good time. It's the fifth house away. The moon's going to be in the fifth house away from our new moon. So this is like expansion, growth, celebration. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm looking at the astrology of Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and it's looking good. The only thing I think is a little rough about the astrology this week, I think the Saturn square Venus is a little rough. Okay. Mars is going to be going into Libra pretty soon. We love Venus and Jupiter coming into a conjunction with each other. That's going to happen next week, I believe, or maybe even the following week. Next week. Chiron retrograde, going back on our healing. You just want to, whenever Chiron goes retrograde, because Chiron's going to go retrograde. Is there an eclipse this week? No, 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 my love. Not this week. Mm-mm. We're not entering the eclipses until later on in Leo season. Our first eclipse, we have a solar eclipse in Leo. Hold on. Is it a 29 degree? It's at the end of August. We enter eclipse season. We either have a solar eclipse. Oh, it's in Virgo. No, never mind. It's in Virgo. We have a solar eclipse in Virgo. Yeah. August 23rd. We have our solar eclipse in Virgo. Oh! We have a solar eclipse in Virgo. This looks like an eclipse on August 23rd. Hold on, let me see. There is a, yeah, it is. It says a solar eclipse on Virgo August 23rd will bring a focus on relationships, intimacy, and personal growth for Virgos. Yep, we are having an eclipse on August 23rd, my friend. Overall, the solar eclipse in Virgo on August 23rd is a time for Virgos to delve into the emotional depths of their relationships. Technically, it's like partial though. Oh, maybe not. It says there was a partial solar eclipse occurring on September 21st, 2025, not August 23rd, not August 23rd. Oh, maybe it's, I don't know. I would, maybe it's too far. The South Node's at 19, and then the new moon in Virgo is at 1. So maybe it's not considered close enough for an eclipse. Let's see. Degrees from nodes for eclipse. This is good for me to know. How far away? Oh, 18 degrees is the cutoff, roughly. Okay, so it says in order for there to be an eclipse event, a new moon or full moon needs to be 18 degrees away from the nodes, a minimum, and this is 19. It's like so close to being an eclipse, though. I think we're gonna feel this. I still feel it's not gonna be like an eclipse officially, but I still think we're gonna feel the effects of from the south node. It's a 19-degree orb, so that's why it's not considered. But it's like might as well be. We're gonna be feeling it though. We're gonna be feeling it August 23rd. But then then we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. That's going to be on September 8th. Or the 7th. So, yeah, my loves, we got eclipse season coming up. Hope you all ready for part 2 of the Pisces Virgo eclipses. Jeez Louise. All right, my loves. Well, this has been great. You guys have a beautiful, blessed week ahead. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Don't expect too much of yourself right now. We're in revision. We're in review. We are in retrograde. Saturn just went retrograde. Mercury's retrograde. So, you know, be patient with yourself. Mars in the South Node in Virgo. Don't judge yourself. Don't be self-critical. Don't be hard on yourself. Find ways to celebrate yourself. Have fun. It's Leo season. Someone said when was part one again? We have our first eclipse on September 7th and the second one on September 21st. We'll get there when we get there. Enjoy your time without eclipse energy for now, okay? My Pisces moon, Virgo sun, wondering if I'll ever get some. Will we ever? You gotta just make the best of it, okay? Do the best that you can. Try your hardest, okay? The astrology will get nice in 2031. 2032. We just need to go through this transition point. We just need the planets to ingress into their new signs and like settle into their new comfort. They just need to settle into their new energies. But we just need to be patient and hang in there. Do the best that you can. Try your hardest. Okay, just survive. Get by day. Take it slow. Don't be hard on yourself. All right. Honor your energetic limitations. Trust yourself. Love yourself. Be true to yourself. Forgive others. Okay, forgive yourself. Forgive your mom or your dad for what they did to you. All right. They didn't, with what they knew and the resources they had at the time, they didn't really know what they were doing. They were just doing the best that they could, right? And so give yourself that same grace as well. Okay. Make sure you're eating your fruits and your veggies. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you're going to bed at a decent time. If you need to take, special, medications and stuff to get to sleep and stuff, make sure you do that. Don't be hard on yourself. If, you're a little special, you know what I mean? You're a little unique. You're a little different. God made you the way that you were supposed to be made. Okay? You are nice and special and unique, and you're so precious, and you're so different, and you're so love you. Where would the world be without you? Oh my gosh. I need to do messages like that where I just go do like a little reel, little 10-second reel of me just praising you guys. Anybody into that? Anybody into being praised? Anybody got a praise kink? Uh, someone had a question. If someone books a reading, are there things like reading etiquette that you shouldn't ask about off limits, such as death, example? Well, if you're just gonna ask me like when am I gonna die, I'm not gonna answer that for you, obviously. But if you're in a situation, what's up? How are you? Kenya, so cool. But if you're like in a moment where someone is passing in your life or you're worried or concerned about like your mom or your dad or your family member or something, I will read that chart and I will tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I'm picking up and what I see around their illness, around their sickness or something like that. So it's a case by case basis. But yeah, if you like are like, when am I gonna die? And you're like 100% healthy and stuff like that, I'm gonna be like, baby girl, why do you ask? Why do you even want to know? But I won't answer that question for you. But most other things I will answer to the best of my ability. But in general, yeah, and like reading etiquette, I don't know. I feel like it's as long as you're mostly asking about yourself and what's best for you and stuff, you know. I really feel like there's no reading etiquette. There is, but I think it's like common sense for most folks. I haven't really had people ask me like crazy off the wall questions. Like the only time where I've been like, okay, babe, no, relax, has been like when someone's like, I want to know if that bitch is gonna get her karma. I want to know if something bad's gonna happen to her. I want to know if, like that type of energy. I'm like, babe, relax. Like, stop wishing ill or wishing tragedy upon others. Don't do that. That is not healthy. It's not good. It's not good for our soul. It's not good for our spirit. It's just, it's nothing good will come of it. Okay. So if you ask me questions like that, like, I want to know when that bitch is gonna, I'm gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna answer that for you. And let's refocus it. Let's refocus. Is bring our energies back to you. Okay, let's talk about you, what's going on with you, what's to come for you. So, that's I think that's the only time where I've been like, don't waste your money, my love. Being concerned with how with the lives of others and things like this. Don't waste your money. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Okay, these things are precious. And why not spend your energetic resources or your actual financial resources on you, on what's best for you, instead of wanting to know and, you know, wanting to reap karmic havoc upon somebody else. And some people are like that. Some people are just, you know, we get our feelings hurt, we get jaded, people betray us and people hurt us and they steal things from us and things like this, and we want to get back at them. So I understand that. Concern regarding a family member's health and insight, good stuff. Yeah, I'll tell you, like I'll tell you what I see through your chart if you have someone sick or ill or something like that. Someone said, to send would want to send you a message asking something, but will you read? I'm quite embarrassed to be honest. You went live with me sometime. You told me to expect new games with my then partner. But want to send you a message asking something, but will you read it? I'm quite embarrassed to be honest. You went live with me sometime. You told me to expect a new beginnings with my then partner. It depends. I don't really answer questions in my DMs. Like, especially if it's like a question that requires like a reading. I do answer questions in my DMs, but usually I keep it very brief. I won't go really deep. But if it's something that's kind of like deep that requires like a reading, then you should definitely book a reading. It just depends on how deep and how vast and how extravagant the question is. Um, I don't know. I feel like as like an astrologer on Instagram, my hair is looking mighty good today, might I say. But I feel like as a social media person and as like an astrologer and stuff like that, like my my relationship with my work has evolved. It's evolved a lot. And I used to be someone that would like be in my DMs, like answering people's questions because I wanted people to see me as like worthy or valuable or experienced or like in the know, or I felt like I would do that before because I felt like I had something to prove. So I'd always be like, oh yeah, let me read your chart, and oh yeah, let me answer your questions, and oh yeah, but it came from a place of like inwards, I was feeling desperate to like prove something or to like make myself be more legitimate or make people appreciate or value my insight more and stuff like that, right? But now that I've been doing this for quite a while, now that I've been doing this for quite a few years, I don't have that like I don't get that reaction anymore to like, oh, I want to answer this person's question. Oh, I want to, prove something to them. Oh, I want to answer. I just don't get that anymore. I'm more just kind of like, if you want to know, book a reading. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit more established now. I feel like I'm a little bit more confident and secure in my gifts and in my talent and in my knowledge, in my wisdom as like an astrologer and a tarot reader and stuff. So I don't really answer questions like that the way I used to in my DMs and stuff, especially when I was like in the beginning. In the beginning, when I was like getting into astrology and tarot, I would like jump at any opportunity to like read someone's chart or read cards for people because it's how I learned and That's how you're gonna learn. You have to learn by doing it, right? So, but now, since I'm a little seasoned, I don't know, my relationship with it has just changed. You know what I mean? My relationship with readings and answering people's questions and stuff has just changed. I also find it really interesting that people just don't like randomly go into my DMs and like ask me questions anymore. And I think it's been a work in progress though. I think it's taken I've had to learn a lot about like my own boundaries and my own value, and I had to let go of a guilt complex that I had. Like I would feel so guilty if I didn't like read someone's DMs or read someone's comments and stuff. Like I would feel guilty about that. Like back in the day, I'd be like, "Oh my God, I feel so guilty for like, not reading this person's comments or not replying to their question or whatever." And nowadays, I'm like, if it's that important, you know, your relationship with things changes. Your relationship with, your work changes and where you put your energy and how you share your energy with others. All those things are always in a constant state of transformation and change in some type of way, you know? So, but yeah. All right, my loves, we're here. This is the end. I know you go to the end of the road, and I can't let go. It's so natural. You belong to me. I belong to you. We're at the end of the road, my loves. Have a beautiful, blessed day. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you guys every day. Not every day, but on Mondays. And yeah, you guys have a beautiful day. Enjoy your Monday. The moon's in Virgo. You want to go clean something up, organize something today. I gotta do, it's so funny how the moon's been in Virgo, and I was cleaning all weekend, doing laundry and getting everything ready because my parents are coming tomorrow on Tuesday. Mercury retrograde. Yay, I get to see my parents again. They're coming. I visited them. Now they're coming to visit me. It was such a Mercury retrograde thing because Mercury rules my fourth house of home and family. And then it's also really interesting how it's a Mercury retrograde in Leo, and we're gonna be celebrating my dad's birthday. So my dad's a Leo, so it's just so interesting. It's so cool to see the astrology showing up in real time. Thank you, Louie. You're welcome. Someone said, "Thank you. I know someone who's a little hard-headed when it comes to their health, and I worry." Yeah, people are so stubborn when it comes to many things, not just their health. People, it's always a balance of like stubbornness and knowing what's best for yourself and having your convictions and like being open and receptive to like the opinions, the criticisms, the judgments, the ideas of others. Are they bringing Gigi and Kobe? They're not. They're not bringing those doggies. My brother's going to be taking care of both of them. Um, so yeah, where is my Gilbert? Oh, there he is over there. I see my little baby boy. But I love you all so much. Yeah, they're not bringing Gigi and Kobe. Gilbert's going to be getting all the attention. All right, my loves. Well, you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you around when I see ya. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this onto YouTube. Also, for those of you that have been tapping into my YouTube, thank you. If you don't follow me on YouTube, go and follow me there or subscribe there. I'm also thinking about doing. Does Gilbert like my Labubus? Yes, he does. He tries to play with them sometimes. I'm thinking about doing exclusive. I've talked about this, I think, in a few lives, but um, Uh, I'm thinking about doing some exclusive content for YouTube, and also all the video quality on YouTube is going to be a lot better starting today because yeah, I have been playing around with YouTube and I've been playing around with Zoom and things, and so I was able to get the quality enhanced, and so now video quality on YouTube should be HD. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out, but love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you around. And yeah, I'll see you guys. Okay. Take care. Be safe. All right. No overeating. All right, my loves. Mwah. I love you guys. Take care. All right, bye.